Hello everybody, welcome to Polyglot George. I'm George Trombley. Today's topic was recorded actually a few days ago, and I just wanted to make sure that I had a little bit of preface to what I'm getting ready to talk about. The topic today is, am I lucky? And you need to maybe know who I am before you watch this video. So I'm just going to give a short synopsis. My name is George Trombley. I have the Japanese from Zero channel. We're coming up on 100,000 subscribers on that channel. I have written, depending on how you count it, maybe 8 Japanese textbooks. 7 of them are released, and a few are not released. I have written 3 Korean textbooks, 1 unreleased, 3 released actually, so there's actually 4. Working on revisions of those now, and also even a 4th Korean textbook. So there is and those books are very successful, and the Japanese books are easily often the top seller on Amazon, if not beaten by another book named Genki. Throughout my life, I have interpreted at Fortune 500 companies such as Microsoft, Lucent Technologies, Cisco Systems, big medical corporations that you probably would know their name, Varian Medical. I've been flown to Japan to interpret, Germany, Paris, Nice, Cancun, Canada. I once went to Japan for a 2-hour meeting. They flew me for 2 days. So I'm not like the greatest interpreter on earth, but I have success in that field. I think it's important to know before this video that I have success, because the topic is, am I lucky? Was this success the result of luck? And that's what we're going to talk about. So here, without further ado, is the original video from a few days ago. I do have a purpose to talk about today. Let's get to it. The topic of this video is, I am so lucky! Or am I? And the subtitle is, how much is luck involved in success? I have no idea, but let me act like I know something about it and talk about it. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about it. So, this came up when I was talking to a friend. He knows who he is. Or does she know who she is? We don't know if it's a boy or a girl. Probably a boy. But we know. I know. It's directed towards this guy. He's going to disagree with me. That's fine. Everyone's circumstances is unique. But, am I lucky? Is my success that I just spent time talking about the result of luck? Let's do a little bit of history. Let's talk about my situation growing up. My father, who has been pretty good for me, he's been a pretty good dad, I'll say that. He had a very tough circumstance. He married really, really young. My mother had me when she was 16 and he was 20. I mean, already like bad decisions all around, right? Like, you should never marry a 16-year-old girl. And then it was the Vietnam War, and he was he was not in Vietnam, he was in Thailand. But he was on the flight line every day, they were doing sorties. They were flying out of Udon in Thailand, Udon Air Force Base in Thailand. And I think a couple years in, I was born, and he was in basically, it's easier to say he was in Vietnam, right? But he was supporting the Vietnam War in Thailand, and he gets a Love John letter, right? A Dear John letter, sorry. A Dear John letter. A Dear John letter is a letter, it's a way to say a letter that she's breaking up. You have to understand, there was no internet back then, right? And phone calls were impossibly expensive, so all you had was letters. So he would write a letter and she would write a letter back. And on their letters, they put their stamp upside down. They put their stamp upside down, that means I love you. Well, this particular Dear John letter, the stamp wasn't upside down. And you could tell just from the outside. My dad's told this story to me a few times. It's sad every time I hear it. But basically, she'd fallen in love with someone else. And I, the son, was now separated, right? Like, he couldn't come home. They wouldn't let him come home, even for that. My mother my mother, who I met once when I was 9. I actually have no relationship with my mother. I wish I did, but I don't. And that's why I think I find a lot of comfort in the Japanese culture of calling my wife mama. To me, oh God, give me a second. I don't want to get emotional on this. I'm just trying to tell a story, but my wife is the best mother I've ever had. I mean, she really takes care of me. No one has ever taken care of me like my wife does. It's pretty amazing. I think there I've been lucky. For sure I've been lucky. But anyway, My mother has made a series of really bad decisions throughout her life. I mean, she's really the kind of person that, frankly, I mean, I hope she's not watching, but frankly, I wouldn't want to be her friend. You know, she's been on welfare for most of her life. She's uneducated. I know at one point, like when technology was everywhere, she didn't even have a DVD player. She relies on one of her husbands to still support her, that she's been divorced with for a long time. She had alcoholism. I have a letter somewhere around here when she was making amends in the 9-step program or whatever. When you're an alcoholic, she sent me this letter, and it had all my childhood pictures that I'd never seen. And there's actually a picture of me with a black eye because I was abused by her boyfriend at like 2 years old. I was getting punched in the face when I was younger, and my grandmother would tell me these stories too. She said she would come sometimes to pick me up. My grandmother, who died a couple years back, at age 92. She said she would come get me, and I would go to her house, and she would make me beef stew. And she said, you know, I would get a big bowl of this beef stew, and I would eat it and I would never let anyone take it away. I was so full. I was like, my stomach was just like exploding, and I would eat this beef stew because all I was ever eating was cereal. I mean, I was not being treated and I was just left to lay around, like wasn't really cared for, because my mother was 16. I don't even blame her. Believe it or not, I don't blame her. I mean, I remember when Arisa, when Mari was like 4, Arisa was born, and I had to watch Arisa. And I remember one particular day, Arisa was just crying and crying and crying, right? And I held her, I sang to her, I tried to feed her, I tried to give her water. Nothing worked. And I remember I was so frustrated. I mean, I was so mad. I slammed the door. It broke. I broke this sliding door thing that actually it used to be right here. And I called my wife and I said, Yukari, if you don't want, I said something like一生の傷残ってほしくないなら今すぐ帰れ. You know, if you don't want, what is this in English? If you don't want a scar that will never heal to be on this baby, you gotta get home now. That's how frustrated I was. So I get that my mother was not a good mother, and at 16, how could you be? And even though this guy went to jail for murder, that was dating my mother at the time, I actually understand him hitting me. I actually understand that, because he was probably young too, and I'm not even his baby, right? I don't remember any of this. I don't have any memories of this, okay? So that was my dad. My dad got divorced really young. He finally came back. He fought for custody for me, and he got it. In the 70s, he got it, which is crazy. I was born in 72. He got custody of me, I think, in 74, and he married eventually another woman. That other woman, her name was Marlene, and she had a daughter named Kim, and Kim became my sister. And I was young, so as far as I knew, she was my sister. And as far as I knew, Marlene was my mother, because I didn't have recollection. And we're talking on purpose, we're talking about hardship. We're talking about unique situations that make your life, make you think you're special, and make you think the circumstances of your life make it so that you can't succeed. That's what we're talking about. By the way, let me just set that up so I'm not going to, trick you in the end. I'm tricking you right now, okay? So my dad's married to her for a few years. He works really hard in the Air Force, and he puts her through nursing school, Marlene. I remember one night, my father calls me in from the playground. I remember I got it. I was like, I don't remember how old I was. 5 or 6? I don't remember, but I was outside playing, and I remember he called me, and his voice didn't sound right. Like he called me. It was like a cry scream for me. And I come in, and we're sitting out. I think we're sitting outside on the picnic table, and he says that they're getting a divorce. Mommy's leaving. My mommy. That's who I thought my mommy was. And unfortunately for my father, he had worked really hard to put her in nursing school, and basically right after she graduated and got independent, she asked for a divorce. Pretty tough situation, right? And the reason why I'm talking about this particular mother is, number one, I lost my sister. Still don't have contact with her. Haven't had contact with her. I know there was a couple times after that where we met, but I don't remember. I was so young. But I remember a very tragic part of my life. It haunts me to this day that someone can do that to somebody, and just the coldness of what happened. She came over to the house, Marlene, my mother, who I called mom, And I remember I was this tiny, okay? I crawled up I was big enough to crawl onto the washing machine, which was right near the entrance that she came in. But I was small enough to stand on it, right? And I wanted a hug. And I went, "Mommy, hug." And she said no. Can you believe that? She said, "No, you remind me of your father." She just might as well slap me down. Might as well just punch me in the face. That really sucked. Hardcore for me. So, growing up with my dad, he's divorced again. He gets girlfriends here and there. We move in with a few of them. You know, my dad's not rich. He's not making any money. We're poor because he's in the military. How much money can you make in the military? And then I think I was 9, and he said, "Do you want to go to Japan? You know, we can go to Okinawa." In the military, he was going to be able to move to Okinawa. And at that time, this is my recollection. I said, "Can I take my goldfish?" He said no. I said, "Then I don't want to go." And it feels like that's why we didn't go, but probably there was other reasons why he decided not to go. Because my dad actually is a good dad, and he cared about me. And I think at that time, he probably thought it wouldn't have been good for me to go to Japan at that time. My father he ended up having a medical thing related to being in Thailand, but he got medically discharged from the military. So all of a sudden he doesn't have a job, but luckily my dad's smart and he had a connection and he got a job with a military contractor. He was able to get a job. And part of that company's job was database related. By the way, there was no internet yet still. There was no internet, but they were a database and they tracked parts for the F-16. And I was 12 and he said, "Hey, do you want to go to Japan?" My fish had died. We went to Japan. So we go to Japan. I'm 12 in Japan. That's lucky. Let's talk about luck. The fact that I was able to go to Japan was lucky because that gave me something that no one else really had at the time. I had an opportunity, if I took it, to learn Japanese. Now, nowadays, you all have opportunity because everything is connected. You can watch any Japanese TV show you want. You can get any Japanese music. You can order any game from Japan. Like, stuff that I couldn't even do while I was in Japan, you have access to. You can go on a website right now and within an hour be doing a Japanese lesson with a very qualified teacher online. It's amazing. But in 1985, when I went to Japan, there wasn't even toilets that would flush automatically in America. You couldn't stand in front of a toilet and walk away and it would auto flush. Think about that, because I remember when I first saw it, I called them robot toilets and I was so excited I wrote letters back to my friends in America how amazing that was. Okay? So I'm living in Japan and I start learning Japanese and I keep working at it for a long time. I'm going to end that part of the story. My dad gets married again to a very, very young woman. Like at the time, I think he got married, I was 13 and I won't even say, like, it was just like crazy. How can we be this close in age, right? Legal, but very young. That goes on for like 3 years. Doesn't work out. Another divorce. I still called her mom. Another mom I lose. Okay? And then he gets married again. This one I don't call mom, but that also fails. Finally, for the record, happy ending. My father has met an amazing woman. They've been together for 15 years. She's fantastic. If I could choose who he could marry, that's who I would choose. She's that fantastic, okay? But, am I lucky? In Japan, going to Japan, I was lucky. But I studied a lot. I made effort every chance I could think of to learn Japanese. I guess it was lucky that I loved Japan. I loved Japan, but I sat there and learned kanji, and I sat there and I listened to music, and I guess I'm lucky that I loved all the things about Japan at the time. I mean, I really loved Japan, and that helped me. I took classes all through high school. Like literally from 6th grade to the end of high school, I never didn't have a class. Eventually I took any opportunity I could to be with Japanese people. Okay? But am I lucky? Does that alone make me successful today? And the answer is no. It absolutely is not. Okay? Because you know who doesn't speak Japanese? 99.9% of the people that live in Japan for the time that I did. A lot of people can live in Japan for enough time to be fluent in Japanese and they don't get fluent in Japanese. Because it's not a luck thing. It's an effort thing. It's effort. Do I randomly have a company? No. I built what I have. Did I accidentally purchase the camera that I'm using right now and the camera there and these lights here? Was I lucky to set this up? Did I luckily find Gup? Love you, Gup, but you're gonna die when we hit 100,000. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm just saying. Am I lucky that I spend all of my time building what I've built? Am I lucky that I realized people wanted to learn Japanese when I was a tour guide? Am I lucky that I really didn't want to lose the Japanese that I had learned and I actively found a job in the newspaper because, again, there was no internet when I came back to the United States? There was CompuServe, but I didn't have it and there was no internet. So I looked in the newspaper, circling things. I was working at the Just a Buck and I found Fuji Tours, which is no longer a company anymore. We're hiring, and I went and I got the job. Is that luck? No. It was effort. I made an effort because I didn't want to lose my Japanese. It wasn't even about the money. The pay was $7 an hour. I was making maybe $6 an hour at the Just a Buck. It wasn't a lot of money. Okay? It was more money than Just a Buck, but it was me using my Japanese. So my Japanese improved more and more every day as I learned more and more Japanese. And I did purposely continue to learn more Japanese, and I was watching Japanese TV like crazy. How did I watch Japanese TV without the internet? How did I do that? There was a video store for Japanese people here in Las Vegas called Japan Video, and I got a membership card there. And eventually I married my wife, and she was my customer, by the way. I was her tour guide. But we watched Japanese TV every single night, nonstop. Honno no Challenger, Uchan Nanchan Honno no Challenger. We watched Tokumei Research 2000X. We watched Denpa Shonen, Raiha Shonen. We watched dramas. I watched so much TV. It's ridiculous how much TV I watched. And my Japanese kept improving. Not only because I had a Japanese wife, but because I was working with Japanese people and I was watching a lot of Japanese TV. And then when the internet came around, was I lucky that I built a website called yesjapan.com? Was it luck? No. I didn't even know what I was doing. I stumbled into it. At that time, I had already started doing Japanese classes every Monday. I was teaching in my father's office conference room, teaching Japanese. I'd already started that. Was it lucky? No. I saw an opportunity. People kept saying they would be rich if they spoke Japanese like me. So I was like, well, let me make you rich. And I taught Japanese to them. It wasn't luck. And then I didn't like the books that were already out there. So I just started writing my own lessons. And eventually I decided I needed more time. So I took more days off as a tour guide. And eventually I quit my tour guide job. Was that luck? No, it was a conscientious, is that a word? Conscientious decision that I made. It was a decision. I made a very frightening decision to quit my job that I was able to make $7,000 a month at age 22-ish, 23-ish. Was it 24? I don't even remember. I actually don't remember. But I remember thinking, holy crap, what am I doing? Because I was selling the crap out of tours and I was good at what I did. Okay. And I could sell those damn tours, and that led to commissions, and that led to $7,000 paychecks at that age. Crazy amount of money. Was it luck? No. Because as a tour guide, I constantly improved what I did. I used to make tapes for all of my tours. They were called like the California theme tape, the Death Valley theme tape, the Grand Canyon theme tape, the Zion theme tape. And every time I did a tour, I would play this music and I would purposely keep track in my mind of where the music could be improved so that when we got to a certain spot, the music would match. I would slow down my speed because I knew that it had to match a certain rhythm. And the company said, hey, why are you doing that? That's kajou service. That's unnecessary services, right? And all the other tour guides said I was trying. They didn't. I mean, not everybody. Some people thought it was really cool that I did that, but other people just thought I was trying too hard and it was making them look bad. People actually literally would tell me that. that one customer would hear that they had this great tour with theme music. Because imagine you're going through Death Valley and you got on a street that goes really, really bouncy, like, and I'm driving like 90 miles an hour. Probably not a good thing to do with people in the back, but that's what I was doing because that was the speed that matched the music to get the bumps perfectly. Okay, and then it stops, and then they think it's over, right? They think it's over, and then it's so fun. Even me, like I need to go do it again. Actually, I'm going on Sunday to Death Valley again, but now it's just a playlist in my iPhone. It was a tape back then that I made before the tour. But a lot of effort was made, right? All right. So I don't know. I feel like I got off on a tangent. So I'm teaching these Japanese classes, and I'm writing lessons because I have no lessons because I don't like the books that are out there. Accidental? No. No. And excuse me if I look, what's the word I'm looking for? If I look, not smitten. What's this word? If I look like I have an attitude, I do. Because I've built a business. Not luck. Because I know a lot of people that speak Japanese and they don't have a business. I know people that speak better Japanese than me and don't have a business. Yet. They will. I know people that speak Japanese, Korean, and Chinese better than me and don't have a business. They certainly aren't making the revenue that we make on Korean books. All effort. Not luck. And the worst thing you can say to someone who is successful is, "You're so lucky." Please bleep this. F*** you. F*** you for saying I have luck. It's not luck. There is luck involved, but everyone's got some luck in their life. Good and bad. Right? I did not luck out on the mother situation. And me and my dad have had our issues too. We didn't talk for a year. Even me going back to Japan, for the record. My dad did not want me to go back to Japan. I had no way to support myself when my dad said, "You can't go back to Japan." And he had my passport. And I did a trick thing where, I already told this story, but I had a military ID card on status of forces agreement that let me go back to Japan. I still had it and it was still valid. He wanted me to give that back to him. And I wasn't going to give it back to him. So we made a handoff on the passport and that. And it was like one of these things where it's like, you know, I did not trust my father. This is how bad it was. I didn't trust that my father would give me back my passport. But he did. In the end. And honestly, he was just protecting me. Because at that time, I shouldn't have went back to Japan. But it worked out. It worked out. Anyway. My point is, it's not luck. There is luck, but even I have been through crappy circumstances. Okay? I didn't go to college. And I was a horrible student in high school, so I had no good grades. I had no... the only thing I had going for me was that I learned how to speak Japanese, and I was good at computer programming. That was the one subject I cared about in high school. And I could type. And all of those things are what made me successful. Right? So if you're 16 or 17 right now, if you're young, and you're not doing good in high school, hey, there's hope for you. There's way more hope for you now than I had hope back then. You know why? Because that paper from high school or college means nothing if you're going to work for yourself. It means nothing. If you're going to find a way to... And again, my only advice is do what I did. That's all advice boils down to. We've talked about this before. So I only know from my perspective, but if you go on YouTube and you entertain people and you find a way to make money that way, it doesn't matter that you didn't graduate high school, does it? Hell, my daughters are way more educated than me. And I hope they can figure out how to make the amount of money that I've been able to generate with my passion for Japanese. And now Korean, and now Chinese. And don't, look, it's no accident. I'm not going to be lucky. Chinese from Zero, when it comes out, will be a direct result of my decisions to make them. Just like Korean from Zero was a direct result of my decisions. It's not luck in any way. I didn't accidentally learn Korean. I learned Korean without going to Korea. I mean, I've been to Korea, but that was all decision. I didn't get to accidentally go there when I was 12. Now, you could say in an extension, well, you can do Korean because you got Japanese. Yeah, okay. But I didn't have to. I know a lot of people that only speak Japanese. You got one life, whether you are religious or not. This particular life is once. Maybe you believe in reincarnation, but you won't remember your past life. So basically, it's this one life. Are you going to rely on luck or blame your bad luck for your lack of success? And by the way, what is success even? What is success? In my mind, success, I mean, it's a very, very physical thing for me. I mean, you could say having a wife that loves you and a house and blah, blah, blah. You can say all those things. But for me, it's how do I not have to work for somebody? How can I earn just enough money to not be told what to do, when to do? That is success for me. And what is that? How do you... That just means you only have to make enough money to survive in the beginning. Then once you get enough money for like a car and your living arrangement and food and you're not in massive debt, that is success. Whether it's through a job or by yourself. I mean, that's success, right? If you're homeless or relying on other people to live, that's not success, right? But if you can figure out how to make $20, you can duplicate that. Just do the thing that you did to make $20. Expand it. Everything I'm telling you I've done, and it's everything that's done by anyone that's made money. Bill Gates is rich because he repeatedly sold Microsoft Windows. And then he built another software, right? The story is obviously very shortened right here because there was DOS and all these other things that he did. But he had Microsoft Windows and he kept improving it, and selling again and again and again and again. And then Microsoft Word and the Office Suite again and again and again. He sold it. Apple is the same. Japanese from Zero is the same. Not only did I just make Japanese from Zero book 1, then I made 2, then I made 3. Then, by the way, everyone waited forever for book 4, and it finally came out, just like book 5 will come out. And then I made a whole new language. I took what I learned from there, and I made a whole nother language. And now I'm duplicating that into Chinese. So duplication is one of the key ways that you make success. Just like a job is, you work for that money every month. And if you're not duplicating that, you're not in a job. Well, you don't have a business if you can't duplicate what you do. And that duplication is literally everywhere. Like if I want to make a bigger company, I have to duplicate the things that I do in other people. I have other people doing the things that specifically only I did. And they're doing things that I invented. The methods that I'm teaching them are methods that I invented, and then they're improving on them. We've got Matsy in Australia doing book editing work. We've got Jesse doing video editing and book editing. And I didn't invent book editing, but I invented the style that we have. And he also takes photographs, which I don't take, of Japan, and I don't put them on Facebook, but I have him doing that. It's one of the things that he does, and he does a fantastic job. I've duplicated myself, and I've found people to do things that I can't do. And Justin I brought in to be another thinker, right? I had made Japanese from Zero, but I didn't know how to do all these other languages without help, and I brought in a guy that I thought could help, and that's Justin. And there's other people. There's Brad that helps with contests. There's Mike that's now helping with video editing, and he's like the main editor. There's all these people. And Kanako, she does Ask a Teacher. She uses the system that I wrote, and she answers Ask a Teacher on justjapan.com. And she just starting full-time for the first time in a long time. She was not full-time for the longest time. She was full-time back in like 2006. Then she got married and had kids and was teaching in classes. Long story short, she's coming back. But these are all decisions, duplication, not luck. None of my success is luck. I mean, think about it. For 6 years, I had the bad luck of making a bad choice to do japanfiles.com. It slowed me down for 6 years. It was a bad decision. Was it luck that I stopped it all? No. It was a decision. And partially the fact that it wasn't making any money, right? It helped, right? It wasn't making enough money. All right. Hi guys, hope you got something out of that. To sum up what I said, what I was trying to say is, it doesn't matter what your circumstance is. Everyone's circumstance is going to be different. When they say, if you get lemons, you make lemonade, I mean, that's a really true statement. Not everyone's circumstance is going to be lucky, quote unquote. But in this world where we are connected on the internet and where all the information of the planet is at your tips, you can be successful no matter what type of person you are. Granted, I understand there are certain things that really make it hard for a person to be successful. But if a man with no arms and no hands can be on the speaking circuit and make millions of dollars, I can't remember the guy's name, but you guys can post it in the comments. But there are people that have much worse circumstances than you. And are there people that have better circumstances than you? Absolutely. But it doesn't mean that you can't succeed. However you define your what you define success as, it doesn't mean you can't succeed. And certainly if your definition of success is living independently of other people, I think that's not a very hard goal. You can tell me in the comments why that goal is impossible for you, but be ready for me to say, I don't believe you. Because I really believe there isn't luck. There is luck if you make your own luck. I wish I could have ended that stronger. I'm saying that if you put effort forward, you make your own luck. If you're always out there trying to do something, the law of numbers says that something will happen and you will attribute it to luck. All right? It's lucky that I hired Justin in my company when I did. It's lucky that I found video editor Mike when I did. It's lucky that I knew Reed, that I met him at a Korean meetup in order to write the Korean book. But is it really luck in the end? Because if I wasn't out there trying to learn Korean, I would not have met anybody. And if I didn't keep in my mind the fact that I was trying to do something, I wouldn't have thought to bring Reed in to help me write Korean from zero. So every circumstance that you have has pockets of opportunity that when you succeed will be perceived as luck. And anyone that looks at you and looks at your success will consider that as luck, because to them it's an instantaneous thing and they don't see the efforts that you make. Okay? So, have a good day. I look forward to reading your comments.